And welcome to another episode of The Inside Out. Today's guest is Nicolas Bearde. He is an amazing vocalist, which I met one summer when I went to jazz camp. And ever since, you know, experiencing him as a teacher, um, as a performer, I then saw him at the Blue Whale here in LA. I really was just curious to know more about this person. Nicholas has had his songs that have charted on in the top 20 in both England and in the United States. You know, he has worked with Bobby McFarren and Voicestra. He's done so many things, and yet, you know, I want to know what's happening in between the lines of the bio. So I will be sharing with you the conversation he and I had a few weeks ago. And before that, just wanted to let you know what's going on with me. I have a show coming up on September 25th at the Baked Potato, so I hope you can make it there. And I'm also in this crazy competition to play at the Hollywood Bowl. We'll see what happens. It's currently the quarterfinals. And I'm placed first. So keeping my fingers crossed that this continues. If you want to vote for me, you can find me on my social media platforms, Claude Hall Songstress on Instagram and Claude Hall Jazz on Facebook. All right. Well, let me get started on this amazing interview with Nicholas. One thing that really stood out for me in terms of his journey is the way he does not let current reality dictate his reality or what he wants. And that's part of the artist's journey. We have our vision, and then there's current reality that sometimes doesn't look like it, but you've got to stay connected. You've got to stay connected to that thing that you love to make it happen. So here we go. Enjoy. To the Inside Out. And thank you so much for saying yes to being a part of this project. There's been a lot of winging it in your journey.
It has been, yeah.
It seems like you've been able to roll with what showed up, you know, at the time. It's like when you ended up going to the military.
Yeah, that was definitely winging it. Talk about improvisation. That was a complete, it wasn't an accident. It was just a joke that got out of hand.
Right.
But it might have been a path that I needed to go in.
You could have said no. You could have gotten to the airport. You could have turned around.
I could, well, after a certain point, it was like, okay, now you're facing criminal charges if you turn around. You know,
Right.
I was prepared to do that because my sense of curiosity, I guess, was let's follow this road. And then I find out there's this big music scene on the base.
Mm.
You know, like where Friday and Saturday nights on the base, there were big concerts going on.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there were two competing bands. There were like 10-piece horn bands.
Wow.
Yeah. And they would do these shows, and oh my God, it was off the chain. I go there with my little suit, and I see people decked out, you know, purples and yellows and reds, and like, oh my God, I'd never seen anything like this up close. So it was a pretty serious situation.
Wow.
You had to come decked.
And being in that bubble, like it just like I just imagine it being so inspiring for you.
It was, and it wasn't like you could get up there and half step. You had to get up there and dance your butt off. You know, if you weren't in a full sweat by the time you came off stage, you were not. You were half stepping. So You had to get up there. We had to do little routines and, you know, all that kind of stuff and break it down, get down on your knee and beg the audience, beg and plead, girl, all that stuff, you know. It was serious. And the band leaders, I mean, the first time I got on stage and I was just singing, I was kind of auditioning for
Yeah.
this one band that snatched me up from the first band that I was with. And the band leader who was a horn player, he came up behind me, he said, get out on your knees. This is while I'm singing. Get out on your knees. I get down on the knees and say, now beggar. I wore out 2 pair of kneecaps that night.
Oh my God.
It was something else. It was something else. You know.
I thought that when you said in your interview that you got tired of getting down on your knees, that was just figuratively speaking.
No, that was serious. That was serious. That was serious. We had to get out and beg, dancing. Yeah, my good friend who was the other singer in the group for the longest time when I first came in, he had been there, I don't know, a few months. So he had established this level of performance that was somewhat manic. And so you had to like compliment. I mean, I couldn't do everything he did because, I mean, he hurt his body pretty badly by the stuff he used to do. But you had to be complimentary to it. You know, you couldn't be standing up there while he's down on the ground squirming and whatnot.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so it was loads of fun though. I mean, you know.
What a difference a day made. 24 little hours brought the sun and the flowers where there used to be rain. My yesterday was blue, dear. Today I'm a part of you, dear. My lonely nights are through, dear. Since you said you were mine. What a difference a day made. There's a rainbow before me. Skies above can be stormy. Since that moment of bliss, that thrilling kiss, it's a heaven when you find romance on your menu. What a difference a day made. And that difference is you. difference is you. Nobody but you.
It's like you live your life as you live jazz music.
A little bit like that, yeah. Well, a lot like that, actually. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Certain unwillingness to just yield to the mundane, the everyday, ordinary. I might turn down a street I've never seen before, and I just keep going until I either get to the end of that road or I get to somewhere I've been before and
Wow.
loop back around. But I may be heading home, but it may wind up, going through the whatever to get there. But I found out later. I got a hold of my military records a couple of years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and it says on my evaluation, it says above average intelligence. But see, for a young black kid at the time, for that to be put on there, it's like,
Yeah.
that's extraordinary because in Nashville, Tennessee, I'm sure that we weren't thought of as intelligent in any kind of way. So to
Right.
see that on my evaluation was like, oh,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, because you grew up in an
that,
area and a time where the color of our skin was not much appreciated.
not at all. Yeah, not at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got the sense that you kind of you knew that, yet you didn't hold on to that reality.
Well, well, I always felt different than everybody.
Mm,
Always, from my earliest memories, different from my family members, different from my community. I'm not implying anything about my intelligence or whatever, but
right,
just a feeling that you're not of the place you're in.
right,
You
right.
know, I didn't hear jazz music or didn't acknowledge jazz music until I got into high school.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Was that where you met Derek?
Yes. Oh, you've done some research here, huh? Check
Yeah.
you out. Yeah, yeah, Derek, little Jamaican cat.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
in Nashville, Tennessee, which was very unusual.
What the heck was he doing in Nashville, Tennessee?
To this day, I don't know. To this day, I have no idea where he is, if he's still alive or whatever. But he opened the door. I mean, we would listen to Bob Dylan, Miles, Coltrane, all that stuff, and the R&B stuff, the Temptations and all that stuff. But I mean, when he put Miles Davis, Someday My Prince Will Come On,
Uh-huh.
what is this? Like, damn, and I understand this. I hear it. I
Yeah.
understand what it's saying.
Hmm.
So it just opened up a whole world to me.
The girls' dorm.
That was a whole nother world too. College girls, no less. I was in high school.
Were you in high school when you
I
were
was
breaking into their dorm?
Yeah, we were still in high school.
Wow.
The thing was, we would lay up in their lounge, on the
Right.
pillows like this, laying up in their lounge, and they come in and they look at us like, "What are y'all doing in here?" But they wouldn't say anything because they didn't know.
But it was the love of the music. They had the great sound system to
Sounds-
listen to it on. So you
Yeah.
were like, whatever I need to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it was a significant away from home, way away from home. It wasn't like it was across the street or something.
Oh,
I had to get on buses and travel across town to go.
wow. The dedication.
What was the option? Stay at home.
What was the option? Stay at home. I love that. And it's true that as artists, once we've connected, or maybe as human beings, once we've connected to that piece inside of us, that flame, we will do what we need to do in order to stoke it, even if it means breaking into the girls' dorm. I love that. And what is amazing also is to let time do what it will do. Because even though it was in high school that he was introduced and began to understand jazz, Nicolas didn't start to sing it until much, much later. But here's the next part of his story.
God, I don't know, I might have been 7 or 8 or something like that, and we used to go out and clean these houses. My grandfather used to clean model homes
Oh, yeah.
in these white developments, housing developments.
Mm-hmm.
That they, new houses. So he would go clean the model homes that they would bring people in to show them. And he took us kids with him, and he give 50 cents or 75 cents or $1 or whatever it is to go clean a house, which we thought was a lot of money at the time. But we used to go, myself and my cousins, my brother and my cousins, and it's like 4 of us. They were all older than me. I was the youngest of it, but I'm the one that knew all the lead vocals. So I sang all the lead vocals all the way out to the houses, and I would pray that he would drive, just take the longest route possible to get there so we could sing and sing and sing and sing. Because once we cleaned the houses, we get back in the car, we'd all go to sleep. Yeah, so it was so much fun singing with them because they did all the backgrounds, just like the records and all that. And my cousin Hazel, who was quite a singer at the time, was kind of the lead on that, putting all the harmonies together and all that. So it was the music was there.
Wow.
It was in my life. It was in my life very early on.
That's
So I was like the Michael Jackson of the family.
that crossed my mind. And it's so beautiful that it seems like the environment that you grew up in nurtured that within you, whether or not they taught you, but they saw it happening and they let it happen. It seems
Oh
to
yeah.
be. And they never said, "Oh, be quiet, stop singing."
No, not at all. Not at all. In
Yeah.
fact, they encouraged it to come out in some ways. I mean, yeah, kind of a passive encouragement, but they encouraged it
Yeah.
to take form, take shape. So yeah. I sang all the tunes I learned, I sang pretty much as the records were presented when I was younger. And I got to a point where I knew I was not putting enough of myself into pieces, and I didn't really know how to do that. I come from an environment in the South, and at a time when you just did not go against tradition,
Right.
stricture. I went to a church where they did not want instruments in the church. The Holy Roller Church down the street, they had to throw the doors open because they were in there partying so hard every Sunday. At my church, everybody's with their hands folded and you're moaning and groaning and all that, And that was what I was told is the way you're supposed to worship.
Right.
And I was studying with an older gentleman, but he had me doing classical pieces for beginning singers,
Uh-huh.
which is about producing the vowels and, articulation, things like that. He would say things like, okay, so improvise on that line. Well,
Mhm.
I say, but it's a classical piece. You can't improvise on a classical piece. You have to sing it as written. He says who? And I said, but it's classical. He says, but I'm telling you to just forget that line, sing the song as you would sing it. But and what he opened up at that point was just this sense that music is music. You can do it as you please. And yes, the powers that be might want you to do a classical piece only in this particular mode as it's written, that kind of thing. But me as an artist, I can present this in whatever way I feel is appropriate.
Mm-hmm.
Whether the audience likes it or not, that's a whole judgment issue. That's on them. It's not so much on me. And I
Right.
can accept the consequences of that. If they
Right.
they get
Right.
up and walk out because I'm doing Ave Maria, to a 6/8 beat, in a wild Latin, kind of think Ave, but they might get up and walk out. But me as an
Right.
artist, can do that.
Mm-hmm.
And it was such it's a simple thing to say, but it was so revelatory to
Yeah.
me at that time. It actually brought tears to my eyes. I had to actually leave the lesson. I
Oh,
couldn't,
wow.
I couldn't continue the lesson because it just cracked something open in me. Like,
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's a blockage that had been sitting there for a long time, and it just like pow, and I couldn't. The ramifications kind of shook me.
Mm.
You know, I don't know why it hit me in that way, but it did.
Yeah.
So I actually left the lesson, never studied with him again. But it's kind of like I got what I needed.
Yeah.
Was the permission to go ahead. Well, not even permission, but just acknowledging that that thing I'd been looking for, I had it within me the whole time. It was.
I feel so blue, and I feel heartbroken. What am I living for? My baby, she went away and left me. Oh no, no, never to come back. No more. I went down to St. James Infirmary, and I saw my baby there, stretched out on a long, long, long white table. So sweet, so cold, so bad. I tried so hard to keep from crying. My heart felt just like lead. She was all I had to live for, and I wish that it were me instead. Yeah, but let her go, go. God bless the girl wherever she may be. She can search this whole wide world all over. She won't ever find a sweet man like me.
So when I came from Japan, I came to the Bay Area. I kind of, I got married. I was trying to figure out my work situation. Then we moved to Los Angeles. We moved to Los Angeles where I was in school, and a few years down there, and I did not fit the scene in Los Angeles. It just was not my kind of city. You know, I was a little intimidated, a little country boy, and I just did not feel settled at all in Los Angeles. So I spent 2.5 years or something down there, kind of in and out of it, and then I came back up here, which is where I really felt at home. Came back to the Bay Area, and that's where I started exploring the R&B scene up here, working at songwriting and things like that. And then in the early 80s, I said, okay, now all this exploration and preparation is good, but now I need to actually get back out and perform. So early 80s, I started performing again with a band. 2.5 years I worked with them. We did all kinds of, weddings and clubs and things like that. All top 40 kind of stuff. And I got to a point where I knew it was time to get up off the floor. The knees, the calluses were developing on the knees. But I could feel Father Time creeping up on me too. It's like, I don't want to be begging and pleading for the rest of my days. I want to be doing something a little more sophisticated. And that's when I started leaning toward the jazz realm.
And, maybe it's just your intuition, and maybe there's something else. Like you could have moved into any other type of genre of music. Was there something about jazz that pulled you more than others?
Well, I mean, ever since high school, I've loved it. I just had not really fully embraced it for me as a singer. And maybe on some level I didn't know how to approach it, or didn't, because mostly what I listened to was instrumental jazz.
Yeah.
The closest thing I got to was blues singers like Lou Rawls, who was kind of jazz and blues. you know, and a touch of R&B as well. Um, and I knew all the greats like Billy Eckstine, Sarah Vaughan, those kinds of, I appreciated what they did. You know, all of those kind of great classic blues and jazz singers. But I felt like that was a little old for me at the time. And
Gotcha.
the style was a little bit conservative and kind of older jazz. It's like
Mhm.
right where I am now. That kind of, yeah, so I was still, you know, kind of in that R&B kind of sense about things.
Got you. Got you.
But you know, people like Andy Bay, James Ingram, what Quincy was doing, you know,
Uh-huh.
bringing people who were kind of R&B flavored, but singing these tunes like Just Once and all that kind of stuff, you know,
Mhm.
started to lead me into more of a jazz kind of perspective in terms
Gotcha.
of Al Jarreau,
Right.
open that
Right.
can, you know. So it's
Right.
like I was like, okay, I can go kind of that way and all that. And that's how I kind of got led into the jazz world.
And you mentioned earlier how you felt, at some point that you weren't expressing fully yourself, and then you opened up and you started to do that.
Yeah,
How how would you say you stayed true to yourself without trying to impress somebody and trying to be big and trying to do what we do when we're, trying to get something and then sometimes forget who we are and forget what our true nature is? How
I
did you
don't.
stay, how did you stay connected to your true nature?
That's an interesting question. I don't think I ever felt like I had to be something I was not.
Mm.
I mean, I could see what other people were doing, that kind of thing,
Hmm.
but I've always kind of been in my own frame of things. You know, I just,
Yeah.
you know, I knew that I could do certain things I didn't want to do, period, just in
Right.
terms of style or approach to music. And I just kind of stayed true to where I wanted to be. I mean, sometimes I do pick a song maybe that was not did not fit my character really.
Hmm.
I would know it like really quick.
So then what would you do?
Well, because sometimes I would do like I'd pick a song, but I never practiced it or anything, and then I'd get out there live, and I'd have to go, "Oh no, this is not me." But I've got to perform it, you know.
Right.
And sometimes I and then sometimes I'd surge through it and go, "Okay, I can handle that." But I
Uh,
don't like but I don't like the song. It's not me. And then
right.
I drop it from the repertoire. But sometimes it would be like a
Mhm.
crash and burn, you know. But you got to do that. You got to
Yeah.
try things, and you know,
As an artist, like it's part of the journey of discovering
it
yourself.
is. Yeah, it is. Things like scatting. I'm not a big fan of scatting for myself.
Hmm.
I'd rather take a melody and wind around that rather than scatting per se. You
Yeah.
know, I do different rhythms, different arrangements of tunes, and that kind of thing. That's my exploration in jazz. I tend to go more that way than just a scat for the
Uh-huh.
scat's sake. You
Right.
know,
Right. Right.
not
Right.
putting it down because you know those who do it and do it well, God bless them because they kill it. But
They
it's
feel it.
yeah, it's just not my way.
No, you're
Scat
you're you're
scatting.
smooth. You're a smooth cat.
Well, it's not the well, yeah. I've been accused. I've been accused of that once in a while, but no, it's not so much the smoothness thing. It's just my approach. It's just the way
Hmm.
I rather approach things, and I kind of let that go, and then see where that takes me.
Yes, and see where that takes him. It's a beautiful journey, and it's one that is, um, you've got to hold two energies. One energy of knowing yourself enough to know what you want and being open enough to say yes to things that are outside of the box for you. That it's like this seesaw. And the times when I've found myself saying yes to things and stretching my boundaries, I've learned something about myself. And I really feel like it's a beautiful aspect of the artist's journey, or anybody's journey, when you're immersed in what you love doing. All right, so there's a third part to the interview that I'm going to share now, but this time I'm going to share my screen because for some reason Mercury's in retrograde, so naturally there is going to be some kind of issue, and the third part did not upload. So let me share my screen. I've never done it this way, and the last part of my conversation with Nicolas. Hold on one second. Okay. Just give me 1 second. All right. Okay, so entire screen, all right. This would happen for this show, which is the 13th episode, right? Right, share. Oh my goodness. This is supposed to be simple, right? You say. Click. If this, if we get off, I'll come right back on. Oh my goodness. All right, so we're gonna do this a little differently. And if this live gets disconnected, I can't believe this. I will come right back on. Okay, hold on. Wow. Okay, I'm back. Let's try this again. Okay, share screen. All right, here we go. I think you're getting this.
The worst gig for me is actually a small club, 80 and 90 people, like they're all looking at me. But I've stood on stage. I mean, Vancouver Folk Festival, 5,000 people out there, or 10,000, whatever. And I'm standing there like, okay, bring it. Let's do this.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. But get me in a club with 100 people. They can all see me. I can see them.
That's the thing. I can see them.
I can see them. I can see everything. I can see all of this. Yeah.
Oh my God.
That's a really interesting thing too. That pretty much any performer will tell you. When a small audience like that, when you can see everybody and people are frowning or they're not looking at you and and you think, oh my God, they hate me. I'm going to give this up. Why do I do this anyway? I don't like this feeling. And then you leave the stage and they're the ones that come up to you and say, man, your show was incredible. Oh, I love what you do, man. I follow you everywhere. Yeah. Like, what? You didn't even look at me.
You did record one of your live shows at, probably many, but Yoshi's is one that is on, my radar. So you've maybe gotten over a little bit.
Like I say, once I walk through that magic curtain, good.
Yeah.
Every now and then during the show, I'll come down to earth and go, oh, that person's looking, or that person, that kind of thing. But my radar is more on the performance side. I'm listening to the band.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out what my next move is going to be without thinking about it.
Right.
Letting it come to me, what's happening.
Yeah.
Even the patter that happens between songs and all that kind of stuff is completely off I have no idea who that guy is that says all that stuff.
Yeah, because on the track, The Girl from Ipanema.
All of that, that happened in the moment.
Wow.
Yeah, all of that. But I let it happen. I don't try to edit it.
Yeah.
And it's not always as graceful as I'd like. Sometimes it's pretty stupid. But it's sincere. I just let it come. So
yeah, no, it just made me smile, and
good.
And your interpretation of The Girl from Ipanema is very soulful. Like when I listen to you, I'm like, oh, he reminds me of Blue Rolls, that comes to mind. And
that album was a tribute to Lou, you know that.
Yes.
It was done as a tribute. That's why I recorded it. That's why I wanted to record it live, because I heard the Lou Rawls live album when I was in high school, and it just blew me away.
Oh, yeah.
It really did, because at the time I said, this is a grown ass man laying it down from beginning to end. He is laying down the Bible. He's laying it down for soul singing, for men performing. He's the truth right there. So he was always my example of what I wanted to be as a jazz singer.
Falling in Love Again on the album Visions. Is that one that you wrote?
I did, yes.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite ones on that album.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that's a song that was half written for years.
Mm.
Yeah, it was. It had a completely different rhythm pattern, and I was stuck as I couldn't go any further with it. And Larry Batiste, who produced that album and co-produced that song, and co-wrote that song with me.
Mm. His
inspiration, when we decided to change the feel to a jazz approach, it just came together, just like that. The bridge, everything. I got stuck in the rhythm that I had.
Right.
That was how I wanted to finish it, but it didn't. It wasn't meant to be finished in that way, apparently, because working with Larry, just in one day we changed it.
Wow.
And finished the song.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
And that's something about the artistic journey that I love. There's this play between knowing your gift, knowing what you bring to the table, while also inviting other people into your journey to create something together, and being open to what gets thrown into the pot.
Yeah. Yeah.
My fine Valentine, sweet comic Valentine, you make me smile from my heart. Your looks laughable, unphotographable. Yeah, you're my favorite work of art. Less than green is your mouth unpleasantly when you open it to speak. You smile. Don't change a hair for me. Nah, not if you care for me. Say, little Valentine. Say, each day is Valentine's Day.
When I think about your journey and what I've learned about it, there are so many moments where you were introduced to a different path.
Yes. Yeah.
And you said yes to that path.
Yes.
And that takes courage.
I don't know if I'd call it courage or just listening to intuition or,
Right.
But there have been some options offered to me that I didn't go down. Some roads offered I didn't go down because, there are always these roads you take. You don't know what's down this one, but you go that way anyway because your instinct tells you to go that way.
Right.
And who knows what you find? It may come to a cliff. It may,
Yeah. And then you may find that you fly.
Yeah. You may run into a wall that has a hole in it. And you go through the hole. You never know. Can I tell you a little story?
Yeah.
Okay. So in the early 80s, I was part of a band. Not the one I was telling you about, but another band that we kind of got off our feet. Got off to a good start for about a year, and then it just kind of imploded.
Mm-hmm.
We used to sit around and visualize where we wanted to go as artists and as individuals. I mean, we'd have these little meditative sessions before rehearsal, or maybe after rehearsal. And one of my visions, which was so clear to me, was a concert that I was doing I saw the stage, I saw the room. It was a massive room, massive audience. I don't know what I was singing, but I saw it all. In the this was the early 80s. In the early 90s, I was on tour with Bobby McFarren. We played Rio, Brazil, the Free Jazz Festival in Rio and Sao Paulo. And we're in Rio and with Voicestra. We did the show. We were on touring with Lyle Mays from Pat Metheny's group. Mm-hmm. Lyle Mays, Jack DeJohnette, and I think Eddie Holland. So when we had finished our set, we were backstage. Lyle Mays called me and Dave Warren, the other singer, one of the other singers in the group, to go do this kind of wordless song with him. It's Just Talk. It's off of I forget what the name of the album is. And I walk out on stage, I sit down on the bar stool, and it is that vision that I saw 10 years before. It is that exact, even though I had been on stage with Voicestra before, when I sat on that stool, that was the perspective that I'd seen years before in that venue. About 1,500, 2,000 people out there. The way the arena was lit, stage, sitting there on the stool and all that, it was that exact vision. What serendipity? I don't know. What is it?
Yeah.
Where does that come from?
Where do we come from?
Exactly.
You say to somebody who, is either on the journey starting out and is like, dude, what do I do? And it's we don't all know intuitively to listen to our intuition.
Well, of course, it's situational, of course.
Right.
I think you have to evaluate what you need and what you want, and consider if that's really what will serve your ultimate goal. Mm-hmm. A lot of people, I think a lot of people don't think of what they want to see down the road. Mm-hmm. I had some visions of what I'd like to see in terms of performance, where I would be at a certain point, that kind of thing. And I don't mean these as writing down a goal. I want to see this, although I did at a certain point. I just think that you have to, particularly in this art form, you have to have some kind of vision. But understand that sometimes that vision might lead you to something else, at which point you set a new goal or a new vision, which might lead you to something else. And you have to be open to it. You can't say that take this option or that option. I can't say that to you or to anybody else. You take that option, that looks better. From my perspective, that looks better, but that doesn't mean it's right for that person. Exactly. So there's a certain sense of tuning into who you are yourself, both as a person and as an artist, that you kind of have to accept. I am where I am based on the moves that I made. That's not good or bad in terms of where I could be versus where I am now. Mm-hmm. But it's just it was my journey, and everybody's got a different journey. One thing that stands out for me is that there's a moment where you were cracked open, and you still said yes. Yes, absolutely. And I think that's a big part of the artist's journey, is to be willing to be cracked open and to keep going. I like that phrase. It cracked open. It exploded. Yes, that's how it feels at times. Yeah, exactly. And a new little thing emerges from it, just like a seed. Yeah. Well, thank you so much. It's been my pleasure, Claude. Oh my God, thank you. It's been such a pleasure getting to know you better and to hear your stories. And thank you.
And that's the show. Oh, yes. And that's Nicolas Bearde and his journey in between the lines of his bio. I hope that that you are having a beautiful Sunday, wherever it is you are and whatever it is you're doing. I hope that you're following your heart, that you're willing to say yes to invitations that are outside of your box, that your connection to yourself is strong enough for you to know when to say yes, know when to say no. No is sometimes yes later, and to be flexible. I'm wishing you a beautiful, beautiful Sunday. You're welcome, Roland. And, you can find Nicolas on nicolasbeard.com. You can find me on ClaudeHallJazz.com. My Instagram is ClaudeHallSongstress. And on Facebook, I'm Claude Hall Jazz. Take good care. And thank you for tuning in to the Inside Out. Bye.